Hey, what's up everybody? So I've been promising I would do a room tour, setup tour for a while, and every time I go to do it, I think, but I should wait till I get that, or I need to wait until I fix this part. And I woke up this morning and realized it's never going to get fixed, and it's never going to be finished. So I figured it would be fun to just do a tour of basically the living room that I work out of and where I spend 99% of my time, and kind of just show all the stuff and the setup that I have and kind of just go from there. So let's hope that I cleaned up all the top secret stuff I'm not supposed to be showing live yet. Hopefully no one spots anything in the background that I missed, but here you go. Here's the full setup on where I do pretty much 99.9% of all the stuff I do. So here's just a pan shot of the whole thing. I'll kind of go through and show everybody what all the cool individual stuff is one at a time. But yeah, that's pretty much the entire apartment, and you see the office behind the IKEA shelf over there. So here's pretty much my kitchen table and desk at the same time. This is where I usually wake up every morning and kind of respond to emails and stare out the window sometimes. And anytime I need to sit and do some writing, this is pretty much it. I usually use my standing desk for everything, but sometimes I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. I need to just sit and kind of relax and then write out some of the scripts or some of the designs. But it's pretty much only like an hour a day there. That little arcade machine is a sneak peek for an upcoming video, but I think this is what many people were probably hoping I'd show, my D32 rack. So let me just get a better angle here and show you what I'm doing with this. So ever since I started the website, I've been going back and forth on, do I keep all of my consoles on a rolling cart, or do I keep the console stationary and put monitors on a cart? And to be honest, they both have their advantages and disadvantages. So this is a newer rolling cart because the older one I got, the D32 almost fell off of, believe it or not. So Chick and John helped me out with this. You got to get the good ones where you actually have to hammer the legs together. If you have the screw-in casters, then that's kind of what the problem was. Of course, it's not finished, but maybe it never will be. I do have one of those APC power supplies like Renee had recommended in one of the retro roundtables. And this is always going to be evolving because where the controller is, my MK2000 is supposed to go. Voltar's been holding that hostage for about 3 years now. The bottom shelf is pretty much the same, but that's not my Nest, that's Cousin Scott's. I'm recapping it, and of course my Neo Geo isn't in here, and a couple of the others. So I'm not sure how the final configuration will be, if there is ever a final configuration, but basically it's all the consoles on this, and then the back of it here, I have everything going into a G-SCART switch, as you would have imagined, and then going into the rear of the monitor with one of those BNC to SCART adapters that Voltar had open sourced, I guess about 6 months plus ago now. But that just goes right through into the only RGB input of the D32. There's actually two component inputs, so eventually I'll be able to have something else here. This board's for the composite S-Video and another component, and of course I have HDI and the ISR boards. So overall, you know, I don't know what scenario is better for me, leaving all of my consoles on this and then only having the second SCART output of the G-SCART going to the OSSC when I need it, because I've been doing that direct capture now, so I kind of feel like I don't really need any OSSCs for anything other than gaming on a flat screen. But I keep going back and forth, so who knows what it'll be in a month or two. Gonna make do with every inch of space here. So on the top of the first bookshelf, I have my CPS2 HDMI with Darksoft Multi and my MK arcade board, which is sagging in the middle. It's something I gotta do a video on at some point just to try and help protect that from happening. But anyway, I'll just scroll right down. Always trying to keep my stuff and my wife's stuff together so it doesn't feel like we're just living in my office. And of course, got the setup here, and this is where I used to keep a good amount of consoles, were inside these. Right now, I think it's pretty much just storage. I don't think any of those are hooked up. And, you know, always went back to my original problem of every time I have something wired really nice, I always end up pulling it out, bringing it to a capture card, taking it apart, whatever else. So pretty much just using that for storage at the moment. Got my OLED TV over here. Absolutely love that thing. And this now is also pretty much storage down below. I did have consoles in and out of there, but same thing. It was just too hard to keep running wires behind the TV stand and everything. I do use that Oppo Blu-ray player all the time, and on the right side, of course, there's a stereo, and then I think I have a PS3 stored there that's backward compatible. I don't even really know what I'm going to do with that one, but yeah, mostly just storage, even though that would make for a nicely displayed case for games and stuff. This cabinet's mostly storage too, but it still at least displays some cool stuff, and this is the other side of what you see in the videos. I, of course, have my Virtual Boy, Angry Video Game Nerd, and Shit Pickle. No collection could be the same without it. Here's some of the HDMI consoles I have, and these are all hooked up to an HDMI switch that's in there. I don't have any of the modern gen consoles yet, but or I did and sold them, so I'll go back to that at some point. But at the moment, that's pretty much it for HDMI. And I do have another PS3 there that I'm not sure what I want to do with. It's kind of just sitting behind the TV. So, also, as always, just a pile of projects. I got a box of stuff I got to work on and review, and three broken 9-inch BVMs. I love these things because they're so finicky, because if you can get whatever hardware you have working on these, they'll run on any BVM, but it's just a nightmare finding one that works. The lower right I bought over a year ago that never worked. The two on the left I bought from an eBay seller that, I don't know, I don't think he tested them. He's being very polite about everything, but they clearly don't work with retro consoles at all, and we're trying to figure out what the issue is now. So, always never-ending projects. Inside this cabinet, it's actually a bunch of useful stuff. It has my Fios router and, of course, my regular wireless router, but it also has a hard drive array that's connected to that acts as a NAS, and an HDMI switch with dual outputs. So that's how everything's routed around to the capture card of my computer. I also have the G-Comp 8x2 switch in there, which will very soon be wired up for things like the Wii U and the PlayStation 3, so that I could utilize both HDMI and component video outputs. And while I don't think I'll ever fill up all 8 ports of the G-Comp, the dual outputs are going to be necessary, because one would go to possibly a capture card and the other one would go directly to the BVM or whatever other monitor I roll around. So there's also an MV1C and some Neo Geo stuff in there, so at least that one shelf is just storage, but that will actually be useful equipment in there at some point, and probably be the most useful of all the cabinets. Here's the other side of the background that you usually see on any of the weekly videos. There's the D32 JVC consumer TV that I would need to recap, and I am the only one holding up this project. I just don't have the time to do a cap list and then of course do a full recap, so maybe I could convince Jose and Beast and a bunch of others to come over and I'll buy a ton of dinner and beer and get them to help. But this was supposed to be just a rolling cart with stuff on it. So this is what the BVM D32 used to be on, and those crappy casters on the bottom almost backed themselves out, causing the D32 to almost fall off one day. That was terrifying, but this was just supposed to be a neat little storage cart that I had some boxes on that was supposed to fit nicely without being seen on camera, and it's now taken over with a giant consumer-grade TV, so hopefully that'll change one day. This secondary cart right here was supposed to be one for a 20-inch BVM. My plan was to keep like a 20-inch on this and maybe the 14-inch on the bottom as I have now, just so I don't always have to use the D32 for things, because I really just want that to last forever. I only want to turn on the D32 when I'm actually playing and not doing any testing. But there were some monitor swaps. I wanted to try out some new ones. So yeah, now this is just basically rolling storage in my way every day. But the JVC monitor here is pretty cool though. I haven't had too much time to test it, but it's looking good. It's a different monitor technology than the Sony's, so the look is a little different. That 8-inch is Wes from Second Opinion Games. He was supposed to come down and pick it up like 6 months ago, so thank you, Wes, for contributing to the clutter in my small-ass apartment. And yeah, it's just some arcade stuff on the bottom, but this is really just supposed to be a functional monitor rolling cart, and they're really great for things like 20-inch monitors, but at the moment, storage. Since we're here, I might as well check out the backside of the wall slash IKEA shelf. I got the UMK3 up there on the left, more storage and projects. Over here, the light up thing is called a Tittle. It's kind of awesome. I love it. You basically can download things and put it on there, but imagine like a cross between a light show and a lava lamp. It's very cool to have on in the background, and it's not too bright, so when you're watching movies and stuff, that's neat. That TV is a Brian Vega from the early 2000s, made to look like the 1960s TVs. And although it's a PAL TV, it does accept NTSC over RGB and looks pretty cool. I emailed the company and got the service manual, and it is able to be swapped fully over to NTSC. Yet another project I haven't gotten around to yet, so oops. And then of course, the back end of the monitor, which I will show you in 1 second. And here you go. Here's the view from where the D32 consumer grade TV was, where my guitars are hanging. This is pretty much what you would call my office. It's like a 4 foot by 6 foot area. And this is where all the videos get shot. So as you can see, I got the door going outside, but I have all of the wires run around. So both for the rear stereo speakers and the stuff going into the capture card. More on that in a second. Got my little balance board thingy so I can try to build core strength while I'm building the retro gaming scene up. More storage just jammed into the corner. And this is my standing desk, which is kind of adjustable, but you also have all of that storage shelves, which makes it super, super easy. So that's kind of cool. And right in front of my desk is the most efficient setup I've ever had. I have all of my soldering equipment right there. And then as you can see, it goes right around to where the oscilloscope is and the test monitor. So this is absolutely perfect. Anything I'm working on could be captured right through the computer or go right through the scope and be viewed on the monitor. So while this is a very tiny space, it's so much work gets done in this tiny little area. It's just super efficient for me. Also down here is the famous PC that keeps breaking. It really is fine for 1080p, but 4K, it's just killing it. So I leave the sides off for heat reasons. Oh yeah, and this is my guitar amp. I just go direct in the computer because there's really no room or reason to have a guitar amp in New York City. All I would do is piss the neighbors off. So got the headphones for that as well. And if you see the little SSD on top, that's what I render to. So regardless if I'm on my laptop or my PC, if I need to render something, I render it to that. And then let me see, I don't know if that's showing up. This tiny little thing right there is a 1 terabyte. And then I could bring it to the other computer to compress down to the right size. And just a quick shot up top for any of the camera freaks. I have 3 lights pointed at the ceiling, and then I have my camera mounted here with the suction cup thing. But here's a bit of advice. Those suction cups work well, and then when the humidity changes, they no longer work. So I heard a crash in the middle of the night, came running out here, and saw that very expensive camera dangling by the wires because the suction cup had popped off. So as you can see, when I'm not using it, I keep it laying on its side, and then I only suction it down when I'm actually shooting video. But that seems to be a decent angle. Next to it's the 960 frame per second camera I use. And of course, then here's just a quick shot of, the desktop and everything, and another shot of all the equipment I use. And one last thing about the capture setup, like I was mentioning the wires before, right now the Camlink is what I have that's coming out of the Sony, because that does, for recording me, that's fine. If a frame or two is dropped or compressed on my face, no one cares. So that's what I use predominantly for that. I got my Yeti mic as a backup there as well. But down below, not sure if I'll be able to get it in shot, but that's where all the HDMI cables run back. All right, so you can sort of see it. Sorry about that. But yeah, behind there is where the HDMI cables from everything else get run. And that's also where the input for my DataPath Vision capture card is. So I'm usually going direct with the SCART to DVI adapters that I've been talking about lately, because that's just my preferred method. But if I need to use HDMI, I have the cables that are run from over around where you saw the switch. However, here's that interesting tidbit. I can only get 720p around here without it losing signal, because it's just too long of a cable and not amplified enough for 1080p 60 to go around. So if I wanted to stream 1080p 60 right from that HDMI switch that I showed earlier, I would have to replace that long HDMI cable and rerun the whole thing with one of those like powered amplified ones. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the setup. And since we're here, I just figured I would give a final shot of where I normally stand on the other side of things. You could see the JVC consumer grade TV there. That's where I have to move it when I do these videos. And then that's just pretty much everything else in the other shot, or the other side of things. So there you go. That's my my full setup. I hope it was at least mildly entertaining to see. Well, I hope this was just a fun little glimpse into my setup, and especially my weird little office nook area here. But please let me know what you would like to see more or less of. Maybe this was too long, as are many of my videos, but you know, this is really just for supporters only. This one's never going public, just because I want to try to do more things to say thank you. So please let me know wherever you found this video. Comment there. Do you want to see more or less of this? Anything you want me to go back and focus on? Pretty much all that happy stuff. And also, if you happen to see that suction cup camera thing that I showed a few minutes ago, when I just put it back on in order to record this part, the camera fell off mid-recording. So if anybody has an idea of how I could mount a camera in the center of a bookshelf like that, please let me know, because I probably wasted $100 in mounts, clips, different things like that. The only thing I could think of really is to screw that mount directly to the shelf, but who knows? There's a bunch of amazingly creative people out there. Maybe one of you could point me in the right direction. But anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know if you'd like to see more of these.